People often see ancient rulers, revolutionaries, and world changers as distant figures, just in paintings or sculptures. But some of them actually lived long enough to be photographed. From Civil War veterans to people who met Napoleon, these figures live in a gap between two eras. The past we read about and the photographs we see today are both part of history. Wondering who bridged this gap? Stay tuned. These rare photos will change how you see history. We start with Hannah Stilley Gorby. Hannah holds one of the most unusual records in photo history. Born around 1746, she may be the earliest person ever photographed around 1840. Think about what that means. When Hannah was born, George Washington was young, and the American Revolution was decades away. She saw the birth of the United States firsthand. As a young woman, she experienced the Revolution, saw the first presidents take office, and watched her small colonies grow into a nation. The world she knew was filled with candlelight, horse-drawn carriages, and handwritten letters taking weeks to arrive. By the time her photo was taken, she had already lived through nearly 100 years of change. She saw the steam engine, city growth, and the start of the industrial age. The camera that took her picture was an incredible new invention, like magic to her. It is hard to imagine all she endured. She faced cold winters without heating, deadly diseases without good medicine, and times when food was uncertain. Many women in her time faced childbirth without proper care, and many did not survive. Yet Hannah thrived long enough to become part of photographic history. Her face shows nearly a century of human strength and change. The next person is Charles Darwin. His 1869 photo shows a great scientific thinker late in life. Born in 1809, Darwin lived during a time of big change in how people saw life. His survival is notable, especially because he faced much controversy. As a young man, Darwin went on a dangerous trip on the HMS Beagle from 1831 to 1836. He visited remote, risky places at sea, faced storms, tropical diseases, and wild terrain. Many naturalists of his time died young because of these dangers. Darwin also fought a tough battle with his own ideas. His theories challenged society's beliefs. Developing his theory of evolution caused him stress. His health problems, which still puzzle doctors, added to the strain. The pressure of his work may have caused mental health issues, possibly anxiety. When he published On the Origin of Species in 1859, he faced strong attacks. Religious leaders, scientists, and many others couldn't accept that humans might have come from animals. The controversy around him was so fierce, it could have wrecked his reputation and career. Still, Darwin pushed forward, continuing his research and writing despite the heated debates. The 1869 photograph shows a man who faced not only physical struggles, but also immense pressure to change how humanity saw itself. Queen Victoria's 1887 picture was taken during her Golden Jubilee, marking 50 years on the throne. Born in 1819, she became queen at just 18 and led during a time of huge change in history. She survived years of political chaos, personal loss, and social shifts, helping to shape the world we know today. Her early years were strict and lonely. Her mother and advisor kept her away from court life, trying to shield her from politics. When she suddenly became queen in 1837, she entered a complex world of diplomacy and politics. Many adults would have struggled, but she not only survived, she thrived. Victoria faced personal pain many would find overwhelming. She married Prince Albert in 1840 and was happy with him, but he died suddenly in 1861 from typhoid at age 42. Her grief was so deep she withdrew from public life and wore black for the rest of her days. Many thought her mourning would end her reign, but she returned stronger. During her rule, she survived many assassination attempts. Several people tried to shoot her, and she managed political crises that nearly toppled her government. She led through the Irish potato famine, the Crimean War, and colonial wars. Each challenge tested her leadership and could have ended her reign. Instead, she became a symbol of Britain's strength and stability. By 1887, she was seen as the mother of Europe, with her children and grandchildren ruling across the continent. The 1844 photo of the Duke of Wellington shows a man who changed European history. Born in 1769, Arthur Wellesley lived through many violent and chaotic times. He is most famous for defeating Napoleon at Waterloo in 1815. Wellington started his military career in India, fighting local rulers in harsh campaigns. Many British officers died because of the harsh climate in India. Tropical diseases, extreme heat, and poor sanitation turned India into a deadly place for Europeans. Battles there involved close combat with muskets and bayonets, meaning luck often decided who survived. Wellington not only survived many campaigns, but also learned tactics that made him famous later. During the Napoleonic Wars, he led British troops in the Peninsular War in Spain and Portugal. The fight lasted for years and took place over tough terrain. Wellington faced issues like supply shortages, political meddling from London, and mistrust from Spanish and Portuguese allies. Many leaders broke under this stress, but Wellington thrived. At Waterloo in 1815, Wellington faced Napoleon in a battle that decided Europe's future. The fighting was so fierce that Wellington said it was the nearest run thing you ever saw in your life. One mistake could have changed everything, but Wellington's careful planning and calm kept him in control. After winning, Wellington stayed active in politics, moving from military hero to leader. The 1864 photo of a Revolutionary War soldier shows a direct link to America's birth. His name was Alexander Milner, born in the 1760s, and he fought in the war that made the United States. By the time the picture was taken, he was one of the last who had fought for independence. Surviving that war was a major achievement. The Continental Army fought against the world's strongest military. Soldiers often went hungry, cold, or unpaid. The winter at Valley Forge showed the tough conditions they endured. They slept in shelters, marched barefoot in snow, and fought while sick. Many soldiers gave up and left, but men like Milner stuck with it. After the war, America was a young country with debts and uncertain leadership. Many veterans got little or no pay, so they had to start over. They became farmers, workers, or craftsmen. Milner saw America grow from a small group of rebellious colonies to a powerful country. He watched the Constitution be written and the first presidents take office. He saw the country spread west and fought again in the War of 1812. By 1864, he was old and saw a new generation fight to keep the Union he helped build. His face shows a life of watching America grow into a lasting democracy. Andrew Jackson is next in this story. Andrew Jackson's 1844 and 1845 photographs show one of America's most debated and tough presidents late in his life. Born in 1767, he earned the nickname Old Hickory because of his strength. He lived into his late 70s, which was rare given the violent life he had led. His story of survival starts in childhood when he lost his father before he was born and his mother and brothers during the Revolutionary War. As a teenager, Jackson was captured by the British and almost died from smallpox while in prison. A British officer hit him with a sword when he refused to clean his boots, leaving scars that stayed with him his whole life. Most kids faced with such hardships wouldn't reach adulthood, but Jackson's iron will kept him going. As an adult, Jackson survived many fights and nearly fatal incidents. He once dueled Charles Dickinson, one of Tennessee's best shots. Dickinson shot first and hit Jackson near the heart, but Jackson stayed standing long enough to aim and shoot back, killing his opponent. He carried that bullet in his chest for life, along with others from different fights and assassination attempts. During the War of 1812, Jackson led American troops to win the Battle of New Orleans. The campaign nearly killed him. He had dysentery, malaria, and old wounds. Despite his sickness, he kept leading his soldiers, who were amazed he could hold up. He fought even when he was so ill it was hard to stand. Jackson is best known for surviving the first assassination attempt on a sitting U.S. president. Richard Lawrence tried to shoot him twice, but both pistols misfired. Jackson believed divine help saved him. This photo shows a man whose body was kept alive by sheer will. His strength and ability to survive decades of violence and illness made him a legend, even among frontiersmen. Another historic figure in the photo is a man born around the 1780s. He's one of the last living witnesses of Napoleon's army. This circa 1858 photo captures a veteran who fought in historic conflicts that changed Europe. He survived battles that killed hundreds of thousands of soldiers. His life spans many events that shaped history, and he remains one of the few people who saw it all firsthand. Serving in Napoleon's army meant facing some of the bloodiest campaigns in history. Soldiers traveled across Europe in all kinds of weather, often walking long distances with heavy gear. They fought battles where thousands lost their lives in a single day using muskets and cannons that forced close combat. The Russian invasion of 1812 was the most famous and deadly of these campaigns. This veteran might have been among the 600,000 men who began that fight. If so, he was very lucky to return alive. The retreat from Moscow turned into one of the worst military disasters ever. Soldiers perished from cold, hunger, sickness, or attacks by Russian troops. Many froze to death while walking, and entire units vanished into the harsh winter. Even if he didn't participate in Russia, he faced similar hardships in other Napoleonic battles. The campaigns in Spain saw brutal guerrilla warfare, with civilians and soldiers committing atrocities on both sides. Battles at Leipzig, Austerlitz, and many other locations caused huge losses and demanded great endurance just to survive. After Napoleon's final defeat in 1815, these veterans faced the challenge of adjusting to peace in a Europe changed by decades of war. Many fought with post-traumatic stress. Others struggled to find civilian work after years in the army. Surviving until the 1880s, this veteran saw Europe recover from Napoleon's rule and the start of new political movements that would reshape the continent again. There is also a French veteran of the Battle of Waterloo. The 1897 photo of him stands out because it shows one of the last men who fought in that historic battle. Born around the 1790s, he was a young soldier when he faced Wellington and the Allies in June 1815. Living more than 80 years after the fight makes him a rare treasure to history. Fighting at Waterloo meant facing one of Europe's most intense and important battles. French soldiers at Waterloo had fought many campaigns with Napoleon and had conquered much of Europe. But Waterloo tested their strength more than any fight before. The battle lasted all day with big cavalry charges, artillery fire, and desperate infantry fights that left many dead. He survived the battle and the fall of everything he fought for. Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo marked the end of the French Empire and made France unstable for years. Veterans like him watched as Napoleon was exiled and France was occupied by enemies they fought against. Many struggled with the shock of these sudden changes. The years after Waterloo brought revolutions, shifts in power, and social unrest. France had many governments, revolts in 1830 and 1848, and the rise of Napoleon III. This veteran saw his country change from empire to monarchy, then to republic, and back again. By 1897, this old soldier was a link to a past that was gone. The France of his youth, with its empire and Napoleonic glory, had given way to a modern republic facing new challenges. Our 1843 photo shows John Quincy Adams, one of America's smartest presidents, in his later years. Born in 1767, Adams experienced the country's birth and stayed active long after most would retire. His ability to stay sharp into his 70s shows he was both mentally and physically strong. His childhood prepared him for a life in public service, but also put him at risk. As a boy, he traveled to Europe with his father, diplomat John Adams, during a violent time in history. Crossing stormy seas and dangerous lands was risky, especially for a child. Young Adams learned several languages and diplomatic skills, but also how to survive threats and uncertainty. During his lifetime, Adams held some of the toughest diplomatic roles. He represented the U.S. in Russia during the chaos of the Napoleonic Wars. European politics were very unstable then. He also helped negotiate the Treaty of Ghent, which ended the War of 1812. These duties were stressful and demanded both intelligence and endurance. Adams faced opposition when he was president from 1825 to 1829. His efforts were often blocked, making his time in office ineffective. Rather than give up, he ran for Congress and won. He then served as a representative from Massachusetts. While in Congress, Adams strongly opposed slavery. He fought against the gag rule, which stopped discussing anti-slavery petitions. His stance made him very unpopular in the South and even threatened his life. The 1843 photo shows Adams during his time in Congress. Even in his 70s, he kept fighting for causes he believed in. He served until 1848, when he fainted in the House and died 2 days later. Harriet Tubman's 1911 photo shows her near the end of her life. Born around 1822 into slavery, Tubman not only survived, but became one of America's best freedom fighters. Her early years were hard and full of violence. Most people would have broken under such pain. As a child slave, she suffered beatings and abuse that left lasting scars on her body and mind. At age 13, an overseer threw a heavy weight at her head when she tried to help another slave escape punishment. The injury caused seizures and strange visions that haunted her the rest of her life. Despite this, she found strength in her suffering and turned it into spiritual resilience. After escaping slavery in 1849, she could have lived peacefully in freedom, but she chose to return to the South many times to help others escape. She made 19 trips into slave territory, guiding about 70 people to safety through the Underground Railroad. Each trip put her at risk of being caught, tortured, or killed. Not only did she risk her life, but she also relied on the trust of those she led. Slaveholders put large rewards on her head, making her one of America's most wanted fugitives. During the Civil War, she worked as a spy, scout, and nurse for the Union Army. She was the first woman to command an armed attack, leading a raid that freed over 700 slaves in South Carolina. Working behind enemy lines exposed her to disease and constant danger of capture, as Confederate soldiers would have executed her. After the war, she kept fighting for civil rights and women's rights, even as she faced poverty and health issues. The government refused to pay her a proper pension for her military work. She had to sell vegetables and bake pies just to survive. Still, she kept helping others. She turned her home into a safe place for elderly African Americans with nowhere else to go. If you enjoy stories of brave survivors from different times, subscribe to our channel for more stories about the people who shaped history.